Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the end of the year. We're at the end of 2019, and it's been a bit of a tradition now that I invite a Turbo.
Hello there.
And a ShadowFox.
Ahoy.
To both come and join me for an end-of-year discussion and voting, I guess, of what are the best games of the year.
Don't say voting in this thing. This is the day where voting is all about, as of this recording.
Ironically, it's also the Game Awards tonight, so that dates
yeah,
this properly.
I know. Everything is just coming together. It's a collusion of voting and awarding and all that. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, we get to do our own celebrations, and so we're going to do our traditional 5 top games of the year. Usual rules apply. No games we've worked on, which only really applies to me. Well, at the moment,
You don't know. I might have worked on something in the background that I haven't told anybody.
Sure.
You know.
Well, hopefully, if you can't talk about it, it hasn't been released yet. So, there's certainly games that I'm working on I can't talk about. But I think that's really the only rule. This year, I actually don't have a single remaster or remake on my list.
Well, that rule still applies because I did play some remasters.
Yeah,
and re-releases. So.
Yeah, we're still good on that one.
Yeah.
As long as they're not just port. Usually, I think is our general rule.
So, Resident Evil 2 remake, Halo Reach Master Chief Collection re-release.
So that's not on your list then.
No, I'd say it's good, but it's no different to the Xbox version that came out, or the original Reach version that came out. Actually, it's got less than the original Reach version, actually, because it's all in one game now.
No, that's fair. Cool, well, let's get started. This year we're going, I think it's ShadowFox, Turbo, and then me.
Yes.
So, what's your number 5?
Alright, we'll start at number 5. This was I'll say, disclaimer, I did kickstart this game. So obviously, there's a couple of those in here.
So a lot of bias from you this year.
I guess it's like 40% bias, a little bit. But obviously, I wouldn't say it wasn't worth it if I still didn't think it was worth it. And the first one is Lost Ember, which I don't know, have you ever heard about? Or
Nope, I've no idea what that one is.
Never heard of it either.
No, okay, so I believe it's from a studio called Moon Eye. I believe they're German. At least that seems to be the consensus from their Discord. It's another one of those exploration kind of games. You play as a spirit, like a wolf spirit, and the idea is you're trying to get yourself and this other helpful little spirit that's going along with you into basically the afterlife. And so you follow the story, like piecing together, like why are you barriered out from the afterlife? Why aren't you allowed in? And you follow the story of like, well, are you a good person? Are you a bad person? Finding clues, like were you saving people? And you put that throughout the game to get from area to area. So you start off as a wolf, but then you can inhabit other animals like little like armadillos and birds and fish, and it's basically you get to just it's a very simple kind of just explore the land they've put in front of you, find the clues, put the story together, break the barriers, get to heaven, effectively, or equivalent of.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark on this, John, and it's like, is that a 2D side-scroller?
No, it is 3-dimensional, fully explorable.
I'm going to need to look up this game after this session. I think I'm just intrigued to see what it's like.
Because it sounded to me like every kind of like 2D side-scroller indie game that I've seen, like it sounded like an amalgamation of like Ori and the Blind Forest and like Unravel and Limbo and Braid, all those kind of like games.
It's more along the lines of sort of Journey, but with more mechanics.
Fair enough.
That would have probably made Journey better for me. I'm one of those people that I didn't really find Journey that engaging.
I did the one run through of Journey. And
I finished it. I finished it because everyone said it was amazing. But no, that's an interesting one.
Oh, good choice. For my choice of number 5 in my top 5, I'm gonna have to give it to. Ironically a sequel, obviously, and there's got to be quite a number of them in this top 5 for me. The one that came out on Halloween of all times, Luigi's Mansion 3.
Ooh,
Perfectly timed.
Ouija time.
Yeah, it's Ouija time.
Ouija
But
time.
no, I have to say it. It's Ouija time.
Oh,
Put the high pitch in there.
Oh.
Luigi's Mansion 3, I did actually have some fun with the single player to it. It has a lot of charm in it, especially at the start of the game, where you're kind of like, it's the prologue and whatnot, you're getting started into the story and whatnot. And just the interactions with Luigi and Mario and Princess Peach and Polterpup and all that, it's really charming. And then as you get through it, and I only played the single player, I didn't play any of the multiplayer at all. But I still enjoyed my time playing through the single player and actually doing all the stuff and whatnot. There was a couple of things that were, off for me. I felt there was too many mechanics implemented into this entry in the game. Because I played 2 beforehand, and that introduced a couple of new things. Then 3 added more to that and put more into it. It was okay, and I feel as though it was a lot easier to a certain degree because there was only a couple of points in the game where I was like losing. Well, theoretically, you have lives in the game in the way of gold bones, and you can buy more gold bones as you go through the game. How
many gold bones can you actually buy? I wonder.
I think the maximum's 10.
Okay.
It's like a 9 or 10, I can't remember. But I had a lot of bones on me. Granted, that's not a metaphor in any case. But no, I had a lot of bones going through the game. But I didn't get a game over. Essentially, it was that easy going through the single player to it. But also at times it was just moments in the game where I forgot I had this one mechanic that was introduced at the start. And I keep forgetting that I need to use that for this. But
I think I know which one you mean.
Yeah, the kind of like the hitting 2 triggers together.
Yes.
And I always forget about that one. But no, eventually got through it. I did have some fun with the game. Luigi, obviously, being the cowardly, plumber that he is, he's never learned. He'll never get over it. He's always got to have a perpetual fear.
To be fair, that gives him a much more charm than Mario.
Yeah, it gives him more personality, and it's still fun. And I love Egad's kind of like relationships with Luigi as well. It's fun. It's funny as all hell.
No, I agree. I will agree with you that I actually want to try the multiplayer, but I don't have Nintendo Online, so I need to wait to meet up people because I do own the game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've since gotten rid of the game, but out of all the games that I've played, that just eked into the top 5 for me. And it's like, even though I don't have the game anymore, it's still a better experience. It's still as as a solid single player game experience. It was a really good single player experience compared to all the other ones that just missed out on the top top 5.
It's a good thing the multiplayer doesn't require. You can do 2-player multiplayer with just.
You can do co-op on the single player, but
that's good.
No, even just for a single player experience, it's a really good game.
That sounds good.
All right.
So let's continue on the theme of third sequels. Though to be quite frank, this is something like the 9th or 10th game in the series. It's just the third main entry. This was released all the way back in January, and I did almost forget it came out this year until they recently made an announcement that the first DLC will come out a year after the base game, and that is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, yeah. Kingdom Hearts.
The game is certainly not perfect. There's a few niggles and gripes I have with it, some of which looks like they're going to fix with the DLC, though that's not the best of things. However, it's certainly the most polished and nicest to play Kingdom Hearts there has been. It looks beautiful. Almost all the worlds have a really nice visual theme going for them. And there's been some people who niggle about I think Hercules being too shiny, but that kind of makes sense. There's a few times the characters don't quite fit in the style. I think Frozen World kind of has that, because it just doesn't make sense that everyone's in their normal clothes in the middle of the snow. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I would say that I felt the ending was rushed, but again, that looks like there's something they're going to fix with the DLC, though I still have my issues with that, with how it ends currently, even without the DLC, even with the promise of the DLC, I should say. But there's certainly enough in the game to keep going. I didn't 100% it just because I felt I got enough out of the base game. I did go and explore and do a few extra things. I made sure I got Ultimate Weapon, because, you know, I want the weapon that will kick everyone's butt. But it's certainly one I would happily recommend at the price it's at the moment, because Square have discounted it quite considerably. I'm hoping my sister won't be listening to this before Christmas, because I've bought her a copy. I was going to lend her my copy, but then it was like, DLC announcement, oh no.
So
I can't lend her my copy anymore. But it's only 10 quid at the moment. So,
It's a bargain.
oh god, yeah, you'll definitely get like more than 10 hours out of it if you just play it through on easy difficulty.
I'll tell you this much: it will go up in price as soon as the DLC comes out. I'll tell you that much.
I'm sure it will, unless they're releasing a Game of the Year version, and that's the reason they're trying to get rid of them.
That's actually true, yeah.
But I would still recommend Kingdom Hearts 3. Obviously, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan and you've not played this, do it if you can. Obviously, not everyone owns PS4 and Xbox One. If you haven't played the older ones, you don't necessarily need to, although it is advantageous. But it's quite easy to get the whole collection on, definitely on PlayStation 4. I think you might be able to get all on Xbox as well now. Hopefully they'll bring it to PC at some point. But yeah, that's my number 5, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Back to me then. Number 4, we start with, shall we?
Yep.
Cool. Number 4, still keeping it a little bit on the indie side. And again, another backed one. This is my second and last backed one. Bloodstained. It's... I mean, if you've ever played like a Metroidvania game, you pretty much know exactly what you're going to get. But it's just... It's streamlined.
It's Castlevania.
It's Castlevania. It's the spiritual successor, they like to call them. Same people on it. I mean, I feel like most people, if they're aware of games, are aware of what it is. You got your weapons, you got your moves, you get more moves, you get to get to new places, you get to fight big enemies. It's all very flashy and stylized. And I mean, yeah, I can't really say. I don't really want to say too much about it, because again, just play it. But yeah, I mean,
it's a perfectly serviceable Metroidvania game for people who wanted that fix for many years, because there wasn't anything from the Castlevania series that utilized that style since the DS games.
Yeah,
certainly nothing new, because they've re-released a lot of stuff recently.
It's a bit of a forgotten kind of genre in its way, but
it's been waning. It's like it's trying to make its resurgence on the wrong platforms. Like we had Metroid: Samus Returns on 3DS the other year.
Yeah.
And that was that attempt to try to update that game. That was a Game Boy game and whatnot. And I feel as though if that was released on Switch, I think it would have been a much better success and whatnot. But
I think I can agree with that one. Although, where's my Metroid Prime 3?
Yeah.
No, 4.
It's still in development.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned previously with Ori. Like Ori was probably was another Metroidvania kind of style game, which was. There was another Ori game, wasn't there, recently?
No, it's not out yet.
Oh, is it not out
yet? It's
yet?
out next year.
Yeah, it's next year.
That might appear on my list next year then.
Could very well appear on mine, actually.
But no, yeah. So I mean, it's like I said, it's nice. It's not overly massive. It's pretty, it's pretty good. Nice, compact, good game. Pick it up. I don't think it's that expensive.
There's quite a few secrets in it, I will say.
I haven't found. Yeah, so I'm still playing through it, but
Yeah, I don't think. I think I may have got further in that than you have.
you probably have. But no, I've had enough time with it to enjoy some jumping around, slashy fun.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll move on to my fourth one. And I don't know if this is going to be on any of your list because we are all the same fans of the same franchise and whatnot. And it is with a studio that we have a lot of kind of like respect for and actually, have some fun with because we've actually talked to their team members in the past. Being out of Team Sonic Racing. Now, it's number 4, obviously, because it's not as good as previous entries of the All-Stars series, but it's not that bad. Like, a lot of people pass this over, and this obviously, and of course, I have the true assumption that its rival is going to be in one of the other two's lists.
Nope.
Somewhere. Oh, okay then.
Nope.
I don't know.
Well, well, obviously its rival and whatnot has the bigger kind of like appeal supposedly whatnot with the bigger roster and the more tracks and all things like. But here's the thing with me and Team Sonic Racing, I liked the limited kind of like roster. I liked how it was only 15 teams, five teams of 3. And the team mechanic in general. It's like, it was something new. It was something trying to freshen up a series or a genre that is, common.
It's Sonic Heroes All-Star Racing.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And, a little bit. And I feel, and even if you didn't like the team mechanic, you can play races as a solo competitor. You can play a 12-man race as where it's a free for all. Anything goes. First to finish wins and all that jazz. But no, I like the team mechanic and I like the little story that they had going in for the campaign and whatnot. Because I liked having all those characters just interacting with each other in a zany kind of like crazy like racing tournament thing that was done up by that was orchestrated by this Rich Tanuki, and it's like it was fun, and it's just another reason for me to just see Blaze being in a role again. It's like I love Blaze. It's like she's like the most underutilized character. I just wish that I could see her in a platform game for Christ's sake. She hasn't been in a platform game since Sonic Rush Adventure, and that's been
the problem about the Sonic games is that they've got quite a large roster at this point, and it's like there's some that are just kind of in the background, like
more Omega.
Omega's good. I like Mega.
Yeah, but Blaze isn't. Blaze can be a prominent character because her moveset, her like actual character kind of like gameplay is the same as Sonic and Silver. Well, Sonic and Shadow essentially.
Yeah.
Not Silver, although somehow Silver gets more bloomin'.
I think because Silver is
because
different.
he's a hedgehog.
I mean, because you can make a course fit for Sonic, and Shadow and Blaze can all run it. You don't need any special kind of. It's like whereas Silver has always had. It's like trying to do a loop-de-loop as Silver.
Yeah. I will admit. So this was my number 6. It actually beat out the other racer, which I'm assuming is Crash Team Racing, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Now, the reason this missed out for me is purely because I just enjoyed the other games on this list a bit more. But I actually think Team Sonic Racing had a bigger focus on being a really good children's game, and I think it succeeded really well at that. On the other hand, where Crash faltered for me is when they started to basically go, let's copy what we do for Call of Duty and force players to either grind like anything or pay us money.
And not that there was any grinding in Team Sonic Racing, because there was, but the fact is that you were given a good amount of kind of like credits for your campaigning through the single player and stuff like that.
Exactly. If you want to race, you get. Oh, go on.
I remember playing through like once and only needing to redo a few things a couple of extra times to really unlock everything by the end. It wasn't. It was challenging, but not impossible.
Yeah. And this is the thing. The coins give play if you win, you've got enough coins to do, 2 or 3 random draws, maybe even more. Whereas Crash Team Racing, you're expected to race at least 10 online races minimum, and if you do that offline, that's 100 races just to get a single character. That's ridiculous.
I feel like that's the Activision.
Yeah, exactly. That's Activision pushing their microtransactions heavily, and yeah. For me, Team Sonic Racing was the better designed game, definitely, out of the two. But it did miss my top 5, unfortunately. But Crash isn't in there either. No remakes on my list this year.
Huh?
Oh yeah, that's a good point, because that's more of a remake rather than a brand new.
Yeah,
that's more of a remaster. Although, actually, no,
Reimagining.
They've added a lot of new content to it since release, which is...
Well, essentially it's 2 games in one, because they put in the Nitro Kart content in it as well, which wasn't in the original game. And they also added in racers that weren't in the original game either.
Yeah, they've basically added 6 new tracks.
Yeah.
And...
So it could have qualified for anyone's kind of like list if we had someone else.
Oh yeah, no, I would certainly agree, because they worked on it from the ground up. I mean, we've had the other Crash and Spyro games on the list in the previous years, but yeah, just that someone told me that this would definitely come up. Yeah, the whole push towards the Call of Duty model is what diminished it. That doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed it. I've actually been playing weekly games with, if you remember him, Strata.
Oh, okay.
Just because it's something we can just relax and do on a weekend for a couple of hours, and it helps us both with unlocking stuff, so why not?
Well, it's the case of like that little thing just soured a lot of people's kind of like perception. It didn't really hinder. It didn't really make the game a bad game. It just soured the goodness that it was.
Added grind to things that did not need to be
Team
ground.
Sonic Racing was definitely the... I quite like the innovation. It's just not for me, I think, is the big thing. It's for... It would have been... I think it works better for like kids sitting on a sofa together, working together to race. That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's designed really well for that.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
So I honestly think it deserves your place. It's just I had games I wanted to put on top of it.
You don't have to defend your choices. Your choices are your choices.
Yeah. And speaking of choices, what's your 4th?
Well, this is the one I misspelled. But I think there's only one word you need to describe it, and everyone will know what it is. Honk.
Untitled Goose Game, I'm guessing.
I originally typed it as Untilted Goose Game, which is probably just as accurate.
No, there's a lot of tilted people in there.
No, I was going to say that's the Wii version of the game.
Oh yeah.
So Untitled Goose Game is an interesting one. I kind of got it just because I had spare credit on Nintendo, and I kind of thought, you know what? It just seems like a bit harmless fun. And it is. It's a very relaxing game. It's certainly not action-packed. It's closer to a light puzzle game where you're playing an annoying little feathered beast. Your job is to create mayhem, cause havoc. It is very, very British, even though the developers are Australian.
I don't know.
I believe
that's just a colony. It's fine.
That's true. It isn't very long. It isn't very hard. It isn't very complicated. There is more that you can do on the game once you finish it. It basically, in order to progress through the game, you have to do certain actions which then allow you to, change the environment slightly so that you can get to the next area.
Is it like 5 times as long? Like then you think like once credits roll, you got to do things like 5 times. There's like that much more things to do or something?
No, it's only about double max. The stuff you have to do is a little bit more complicated. I actually haven't played it since I finished the base game, because at that point I think I spent about 4 or 5 hours on it, and I just gone, you know what, I've enjoyed it.
You see everything there is to.
But I would happily go back to it at some point and just go, you know what, I just fancy being a dick for an hour as a goose. Because you know what? And I think that's one of the strengths of the game.
Release your inner goose.
I think that's a good strength of a game where you can just literally go, I'm done playing it for the moment, but I know I can just come back to it whenever I want. I think it's a little bit overpriced for what it was, but you know what, I don't regret the purchase, which is always a good thing.
It's a unique experience.
Yeah, and hopefully when it comes to other platforms as well, I think it was on Epic and Switch to begin with. It's I think it's coming to PlayStation soon.
I think it's coming to Xbox soon as well. I'm trying to remember.
So if you could, I would say maybe wait for it to go on sale, but it's worth picking up if you just want a relaxing game. And I will admit, the Switch is probably the platform that it will work best on, just because you can carry it around with you. So yes, Untitled Goose Game is my number 4.
All right, number 3 now. We're almost halfway through. Well, from a 2D...
We're 2/5.
Yeah, 2/5. From a 2D hack and slash to a 3D hack and slash. This was a game that came out very early in the year. It was another sequel to a game that hadn't had a proper sequel in about 9 years, unless you counted the remake.
Which is kind of like not canon / semi-canon or something?
Yeah, I figured you figured out what one this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Devil May Cry 5. It's all the stylish hacking and slashing you expect and want from a character action game or a spectacle fighter, as Yahtzee once coined them with, which I actually do think is a nicer term for them, because it is all about the spectacle. You got 3 characters, V, Nero, and Dante. Nero and Dante play somewhat similarly, but still have a lot of differences. Like Dante he's got his old 4 stances, and then he's got up to 4 melee weapons and 4 range weapons, and you can swap between, and then you get more forms with your devil trigger. Nero has his arm, which you can replace out, and it works on like a magazine style. It's actually interesting because you can't swap your arm. You have to like throw the arm away and load the next one in. It's like a magazine, like where they're in an order. So you can kind of, and any new one you pick up goes to the top of the thing. So you can kind of, when you go back and play a mission again, you can kind of think, right, this is the order of things. So I want this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. And so that's quite a bit tactical. And then, of course, you've got V, who doesn't actually fight himself, but uses his demon creatures who are callbacks to, I think, the first Devil May Cry. I'm not 100%, I'm kind of vaguely aware of that.
When did you get into the series?
It was not too long before 5 came out, really. I was watching a lot of Super Best Friends, because they played all the Devil May Cries, and the idea was that they were going to get to 5 when it came out. Sadly, that channel is now non-existent. But I think 2 of them still did it. I watched it. I thought, this is great. Picked up myself, played through it, loved it. I wish I was as good as like other people. They've got the style meter, all the way from D to triple smoking sexy style, and God forbid I can get there. If I could keep up a triple S combo, the game would be absolutely amazing. As it is, I can just about get A's and S's.
No, I've been playing a bit of it myself, and I can totally agree. That was a great hypothesis, like breakdown of the whole game and whatnot. But this just was just outside of my top 5 as well, because I haven't beaten it myself. I'm playing it thanks to Game Pass. I've mentioned this on the LMC cast, which you can also check on the podcast feed if you want to listen to my sexy voice again. But shameless plug. But yeah, Devil May Cry 5. Because I played Devil May Cry 4 beforehand, I was invested in wanting to give this a shot. However, I wasn't a big fan of Nero's Devil Breaker arm. I just was not. I was not a fan of the whole. All right, you have to, destroy your arm to reload your next one and whatnot. No, I wanted, I would like to have a rotation and whatnot. But no, eventually, and at the start, I hate the mechanic where obviously you would have to spend blood orbs, or if you have gold orbs, to use up to get you restarted in the fight if you get killed in battle.
Yeah.
But then if you don't have enough orbs to do it, you have to reload to your next checkpoint, and that happened to me on the third chapter or something like that. It was during one of the boss chapters, or like going into a boss, and it just got frustrating. But eventually got past it, and then it became a little easier again. So there was that one giant spike and I was playing on the default difficulty, so it was like that one giant spike almost ruined the entire game.
Wow.
For me. But eventually got past it. I haven't finished it yet because I haven't sat down again for a while. And it sadly didn't, just on the cuff of coming into the top 5 for me.
A 6 or a 7.
But it was probably 7. I mean, it was just below another entry, which I'll probably talk about in my honorable mentions. But no, it is still a good game. I'll definitely say this now. Capcom was on a roll this year.
Oh, they've been
with
good this
some
year.
of with a couple of games this year. Devil May Cry was one of them, and we'll get to the other one later on.
The only Devil May Cry game I've ever played is Bayonetta.
The reason I love spectacle like those kind of games was pretty much because of Metal Gear Rising. That's probably the one I'm most proficient at. And it's only got like a 10th of the combo features.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's my 3.
Cool. Well, my number 3. Funny you should say Bayonetta there, Josh, because my number 3 is done by the same guys who does Bayonetta, being out of Platinum Games. Now, this game came out of nowhere. Like, it got announced at the start of the year, and it was coming out in the summertime.
I'm trying to think what this game is now.
Literally months away. It came out for the Switch. It was an exclusive on the Switch. And, and I was surprised that this came around, and I'm actually surprised of how good it actually is. And it's Astral Chain. Astral Chain. My God, this game is really good. It's one of the best kind of like Platinum Games original IPs to date so far, where they've taken everything that they've learned from previous entries. You've got the man, one of the kind of like people behind Anarchy Reigns and Mad World. I believe it's Anarchy Reigns and Mad World in the director's chair, working on this game. You have Hideki Kamiya working on the supervising, I believe, the story to the game and whatnot. And you got an acclaimed kind of like character designer that's obviously famous for their manga work in this on board for this game as well. The art style is fantastic. The setting is great. It's a futuristic post-apocalyptic, kind of a post-apocalyptic world where this humankind has been threatened by this entity that's from another world, another plane of existence. Hence, an astral plane. All part of the title. And using these legions is the way of combating this kind of like this evil that is trying to kind of like come from this astral plane into our world and taking humankind and corrupting them and whatnot. And now we have like a special police force that uses these legions to kind of like enforce the law and whatnot. And it's just really good. It's like it's obviously chapter based, but in the chapters you can do a little bit of roaming around these areas that you can visit and whatnot during the missions, and you can do several. You can either go through the main story or you can do these side missions. There's a side mission where your job is to give someone ice cream. So you go to the ice cream vendor and then you can get like a regular cone, or you can get a cone that's like 10 scoops high.
I remember you mentioned this.
And it's like, trying to do like a balancing act with this thing, trying to give it to the person up the stair. And then there's always this one NPC who comes running down the stair, and he is going to bump into you no matter what. It's like you will not get up there with all 10 in tow, or if you can, then you are God.
This game is very much on my I really want to play it, and I have not had a chance.
Well, it was the best seller for the Switch this summer in the UK. It was like one of the biggest titles, and granted, because at that time there wasn't really much on the Switch at that point, so it was the perfect time. It was the perfect summer gap to help with the Switch sales and whatnot. And
I need to actually just double check when it was released, because I feel like something else came out at that time.
Well, it was August.
It was literally the end of August when it came out.
Yeah. There's another game on my list that came out very close to it, which unfortunately had to beat it out for my attention.
Of course, but no, it's like the combat was great. Being able to, it sounded complicated with how you control your own character and then you can control the Legion. But if you get a feel of how to kind of like work it out, and how to control your Legion, how you can send it out to attack, the enemy and whatnot, and doing these combos and whatnot, and you can once you kind of like upgrade yourself a bit more and whatnot to have more movesets, it does become more fluid. It gets really good, and some of the combos and some of the kind of like action pieces that I would go into battles for and whatnot were impressive. I can't gush it about. I'm a big Platinum Games mark. I was always gonna be going to try and support this game as much as possible. And but here's the thing, I was a bit skeptical at the start, like I was with Devil May Cry, but eventually I got used to it. I actually finished the game, and in the end, I enjoyed it. Granted, there's a ton, and I mean a ton of after-game content to it, which I have not beaten at all.
Platinum are very good with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there is a lot of game time in this game. And of course, the best thing about it, you can either be a male character or a female character. And, it's like you can customize your character. You can try to make it look like you as possible, but really the customization is very limited to a certain degree. But it's nice you have that choice that you can either be a guy cop or girl cop. It's like it's cool. But yeah. No, I love it. I loved it. Sadly, it just, it's just at number 3 for my top 5.
Top three for a year isn't bad.
Yeah,
I am serious that I really want to try this at some point. It came out at a weird time for me, but also just the fact that
you were more interested in Bubsy, weren't you?
Yes, I really wanted Bubsy. No, Bubsy didn't make my top 10. I'm sorry. But it is something that I've got my eye on. I might look at getting it for my travels over the holiday period, actually.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Well then.
Oh well. Well, that was my number 3 for that. Astral Chain. If you haven't played it, do give it a shot. It's definitely a Switch must buy.
So let's stick with the Switch.
Was your number 3 the one that came out nearby Astral Chain, or is it something else?
No.
Oh.
No. So my number 3 is another Switch title, and has already been mentioned.
Oh.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh well.
Honestly, I don't have that much to add from what Turbo said. I still feel like I prefer the original over this one, but I feel like this one does improve on the second one. It feels a little bit more cohesive. I like that some of the puzzles, especially for the gems, are a little bit more obscure. I finished the game. I have not got all the gems yet. Again, it was one of those cases where I felt like I'd had my fill when I beat the final boss. I have seen the additional content that comes with the multiplayer, and I really want to try it at some point, but that is a ways off yet, I think. But honestly, it did everything I wanted for a Luigi's Mansion title. It still feels like Luigi is trying to do his best against unsurmountable odds. I like the interactions with some of the... I really like the boss designs, actually. Is one of the big ones I like in this one. I really like this one boss who actually isn't interested in fighting you and is more than happy to give you the item and MacGuffin you're looking for as long as you help him create.
Yep, I know which one you're talking about.
But I don't want to spoil any more than that because this is a must-buy. Buy it for the single player. There's a lot of little secret nooks and crannies to get all the items, and it's very hard to figure out where you stop for those. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, definitely worth getting.
Alright. So,
and it's all yours.
Alright then, number 2. We are top 2. I want to thank the Xbox Ultimate Game Pass, first of all, for allowing me to try out this game. It's The Outer Worlds. What is an Epic Store exclusive is actually available on the Microsoft Store on the PC. It wasn't. I was actually having a little bit of trouble downloading it at first, but The Outer Worlds was it's from Obsidian. If you ever played New Vegas, Fallout New Vegas, same people, essentially, and it is.
I think Obsidian would be more famous for their South Park games.
These days, probably.
These days, probably.
Yeah.
But this is certainly more comparable to the Fallout New Vegas in that it is a RPG, which does have an ending. It's once you hit endgame, they do tell you like this is the point of no return. Have you got anything else to do? But I was actually quite happy to say that I did. This is an RPG with a lot of things to do, but it's simplified. It doesn't feel weighty or heavy. It's not got like 100,000 customization options. Like the leveling up is like set into groups, and once you get to level 50, then you can choose in those groups specifically what you want. You get 30 levels and 10 points per level, and every 2 levels you get a perk, so you can kind of plan out your build accordingly. But I mean, I went into that game and I was able to pretty much go through it in about a week, doing the majority of like the main thing, your companion side quests, every other side quest that was there. One of the nice thing about it is that if you do something and you think person A might actually be interested in this rather than person B, even though they don't have a little icon above their head, you can often go off over to that person and go, so this person just asked me to deal some drugs, and they'll go, oh, thank you for telling me, even though that wasn't a valid like option in like the list of in like your objectives list. You can still just go over to like the policeman and say, bad man over there, and they'll deal with it. It's quite.
But do the police pay you?
Considering this is a very corporate-run future, yes, they probably will pay you for your work. The entire game is about a corporate dystopia. It's, I would say, very nail on the head right now, but it's in terms of the game industry, very much so. But yeah, it has all the same hallmarks of like a Fallout game. You got your fast travel, you got a bit of weapon modification, a bit of degradation, different armors, but it's not as customizable. And my biggest gripe with it was that I didn't have on my home base ship. I didn't have enough boxes in the right places to like separate my gear and stuff. That was annoying, and I couldn't customize to put another box down. But all in all, very good, lightweight, entertaining, very humorous. it's very much a pick up and play like game. If you have the Xbox Ultimate Game Pass, which I think is £1 right now for 3 months.
That offer may have expired, I think.
It also might have expired by the time it's kind of, if not. But no, if you've got the game,
Certainly by the time this is released.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If you've already got the Game Pass, or you're interested in picking up the Game Pass for a bit, it's both on PC and on Xbox. This is definitely worth picking up. It's you can get it. You can play it and get through it in the month if you just want to try it for a month. Yeah.
Oh well. So yeah. My number 3. Going on
Number 2.
Oh, 2. Sorry. Going backwards. Sorry, I've lost my place. Number 2. Again, it's another Switch game. I've been playing my Switch a lot this year, and but this game was definitely a nice change to my, not only just to my gaming kind of like habits, but also my lifestyle, essentially. Because this has helped really well for keeping myself active and keeping myself keeping myself in the best way in that healthy kind of like state that I have that I was able to achieve myself 2 years ago, roughly in December of 2017. So and that game is that of Ring Fit Adventure. Ring Fit Adventure, I did have my skepticism to it to start with, but then when I actually put my thought to it, it's like, this could be a good alternative to what I've been doing previously, and by God, it has been the case. Because it's just running on the spot. It's just like lifting your legs and simulating running, just being stationary though. But then when you get into the combat, it's using all these kind of like different kind of like exercise movements to defeat the enemies that are on screen. It's baffling how a concept like that wasn't implemented into the original Wii Fit or Wii Fit Plus or anything like that.
I think they break the Wii Fit board if they had you doing a bunch of...
Well, obviously, if you were running on top of the bloody thing, yeah, fair enough. But no, stuff like doing the yoga poses and stuff like that, which is something that they've incorporated in Ring Fit here. It's like having a mini game where you're using yoga poses to knock the hell out of a yoga mat that's sentient and trying to kill you with, or it's trying to heal its allies with, healing powers and stuff like that. But no, it's like I've been playing for the game. I haven't beaten the game per se because I've just been like. I have like a half an hour to an hour sessions to it, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less, and each time I'm kind of like just bit by bit just going through the levels and in the worlds, and there's a lot of worlds apparently. There's like way more than I thought there would be, but this is an RPG essentially. You are leveling up as you progress through the game. You're getting experience points. Not only by taking on the enemies and defeating them in battles, but also running through the levels, doing various mini games and stuff like that. So it is a full on. It is a basic RPG kind of like game. It's just incorporating a really good way of keeping yourself fit, and it is a decent kind of like implement to help in a healthier lifestyle. But granted, it's not the go-to one. It's something that replaces the one that got you the success. My success was obviously with DDPY, but my maintaining that success, Ring Fit Adventure is definitely maintaining that success. And I can only give this. It would have been number 1 had my number 1 not been released this year, but I have to give it at least number 2. It was so close. Trust me, I could not really fathom. You cannot really fathom how close it, or sorry, need to use my words. How hard it was to, say which one was number 1 and which one was number 2. But sadly, I not even sadly, just Ring Fit Adventure Ring Fit Adventure is a really good game. It's definitely worth getting a Switch for it. It's not only good for your health, but it's also good for fun as well, because there's plenty of mini games to incorporate a fun kind of like party vibe and stuff like that. A nice way of testing your strength, shall we say.
I really hope they continue to add more on, either with new games that use that system or other stuff in that kind of series.
I can definitely see them adding some DLC packs for that, just additional workouts. And
to be honest, I think a full-on sequel that uses the same equipment might be quite a good start.
Yeah, that's another thing that many people think that would be bothersome, is that you're buying new stuff for it, which is the ring con and the leg strap and stuff like that. But really, that stuff, I feel that someone out there will incorporate that into another game, or the same developers who worked on Ring Fit Adventure will find a way to either make a brand new game or a sequel to Ring Fit Adventure with the same technology that they've made. And I feel as though they know what they're doing with this. I feel as though I'll tell you this much, it's way better than Labo. I'll say that much.
Mario and Sonic 2022.
Actually, you know what? Some Olympic sports probably could do with using that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Cool. So my number 2 is a Kickstarter game.
Hey, did you kickstart it?
No, I did not kickstart it.
Ooh.
Because I don't actually like most of the games in the series it's based on. And yes, it has already been mentioned. It is Bloodstained. I actually got Bloodstained in an offer where I got 2 games, get 1 free. And I took Bloodstained as the free one because this was after it was released and it got quite good reviews. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I know it's based on the one Castlevania game that I really like, which is Order of Ecclesia on the DS. And I have not finished the game yet, but I've been thoroughly enjoying what I've been playing. I do quite like the freedom that the game gives you in how you explore what you want to, how you level up as you want to. There's a few secrets here and there. You can fight the final boss a lot earlier than you're supposed to and win, and you'll get a different ending, which is a bad ending.
Huh.
It's very, very obviously a bad ending. But then I've got a different bad ending by doing it at a later point with different circumstances. So it's very interesting, and I like a lot of the setup that you've had to it. I like the fact that they do allow some minor customization of the character, and that some outfits will just change your appearance anyway. There is a secret one in the caves with a very familiar enemy that you might find, which is quite fun. But overall, the game has kept me surprised. I actually started playing it and then stopped for about 3-4 months, and then went back to it again, and it was fine. There was nothing stopping me on it, which was quite nice. There's lots of little password secrets that the random genius showed me that I knew nothing about, which is based on YouTubers. It's a little bit weird, but
why not?
Sure.
Why not?
My only gripe that I've had with it is not a problem with the developer, but a problem with censorship in Europe, where my copy of the game, by default, had blood as a different colour. Which caused some slight problems when I had a puzzle that depended on me knowing there was a very big patch of blood here. And when I saw it, I just went, that's a very big splodge of ink. But I'm still enjoying the game. There's still a lot of secrets that I'm finding out. I've kind of found my preferred playstyle as well, which is quite nice. If you can find it for a good price, definitely get it. I've been playing the PS4 version. I think the Switch version had some issues with it, but PlayStation 1's been fine. Been playing it on standard PS4, no problems.
PC's fine.
Yeah. So number 2, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I think its full title is.
Yeah, there was 2, wasn't it? Ritual of the Night and...
There was an 8-bit one they did as a prequel.
Yeah, it's like Curse of the Moon, I think they called it.
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much. Haven't played that one. Don't ever intend to play that one because I really didn't like that art style. However, the two games do connect, so worth noting that.
It's like a little prequel thing, isn't it?
Yes, and all the characters that you play in that appear in the main game, not necessarily as allies.
Oh, okay.
So yes, before we hit our number ones, any honourable mentions that you guys would like to add?
Anthem, no.
I
mean, it's only £1.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's free to play now.
Is it really free to play?
I believe it's been free to play now.
Oh god. No, there's a few games on the so the more Indivisible. That was pretty good. I hadn't properly played that one though. It didn't make it on the list because I haven't played enough of it. Bloodstained just beat it out pretty much a little bit, as with Lost Ember.
Yeah, Indivisible. It was okay. It's beautiful, but the gameplay did not mesh well with me, which is why it missed my list. But it would have been 7.
Yeah, it's certainly up there, 6 or 7. Apex Legends, that came out this year, which very beginning of the year, February apparently.
Fair enough.
I say, Respawn Development or Respawn Entertainment, sorry, they've been knocking it out of the park. They've made Apex, Titanfall 2, amazing. The new Jedi game apparently is also pretty good. The Dark Souls one. EA don't deserve it.
I didn't realise it was a Dark Souls-esque.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. EA marketed it as sort of like an action adventure game. It's Dark Souls, but with Jedi.
Not sure if I like it more or less than I've played it.
It's a confusing one. I guess Monster Hunter Iceborne was an update for Monster Hunter World, which again I got to play via the Game Pass. That was Monster Hunter was last year. Again, Destiny, Shadowkeep, new update, again, new stuff to a game. But it's kind of weird when you get into these recurrent games as a service, as they like to call them, where it's every year.
To be fair, you have put Destiny 2 on a list. You put Destiny 2 Forsaken last year.
I don't think I put Forsaken, did I? Or I may have made it as an honourable mention. I'll probably honourably mention Destiny every year because they do the big yearly updates.
Yeah, because they always have a year update to it. So you're always going to put it into the honourable mentions. You can't really make it a game of the year ever.
I won't call Destiny game of the year, but I will always say the new year updates are always good, and this is their first year free of Activision as well, fully. The first update was pretty good, but it was a split between the new year update Shadowkeep and the Season of the Undying. So it was like a twofer. So they were a bit lacking. No, not lacking. They were good, but there could have been more there. But the new one was the Season of the Dawn, which launched this Tuesday, and that's already looking to be fun.
How about yourself, Turbo?
Well, with myself, there was a couple of games that came out at the start of the year that were, granted they were good, but of course just not good enough to put in. I had a lot of Animu games this year, including Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, which was at the start of the year. I forgot that I played that game and got the platinum for that.
I love that you forgot you played it, or was it scrubbed it from my memory?
But fine, fan service the game.
Okay.
Thankfully, I got that out of my system at the start of the year.
I've had several people buy different versions for me. I've played it for an hour. No more.
Yes. But it's not a bad game. It's just it's a bit repetitive at times. But hey, Kill la Kill IF.
Oh, yeah.
That was another Animu game.
Another more fan
really
service
good
game.
Though. Yeah, it's a fan servicey game,
but it's
to a certain point.
There is a reason for it in lore, which I.
But there is a plot point to it,
yeah.
and this is obviously a nice little what if storyline to the main kind of anime series and whatnot, and it's really good. And the game and the fighting system is actually really good. It really reminded me of kind of arena fighter kind of style.
Who made it?
Gameplay. Oh, cripe! Now you're asking me.
I was gonna say it sounds like almost platinum.
I think it was Bandai Namco.
Okay, yeah,
I think
Okay.
it's not Platinum. I know that for,
Right, to be fair,
for a fact.
Bandai have been knocking it out the
Oh,
park.
and publishers.
Yeah,
publishers
well, they've got some-
Arc Systems, of course.
Oh, it's Arc System Works. All right.
Oh, that
so,
might explain
yeah.
a fair
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, that. There are certain companies that you can just go, yeah, that's them.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely, if you've liked those kind of like arena fighters, like say, or 3D arena fighters, then definitely give that a shot. But again, sadly missed my top 5. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. I thought it was all right, but it's not the No More Heroes that I wanted. It could have been, but we are getting No More Heroes 3, so you never know. That might show up in top 5 sometime whenever it gets released. River City Girls, I only just played it a couple of this past weekend actually.
That's again on my list of I want to get round to at some point.
Yeah, and I haven't finished it. It's obviously done by Way Forward. They're really good. And you talk about YouTuber personalities being cameos and whatnot. There are a couple in this game as well.
Couple.
Yeah. Okay, then a smorgasbord of YouTube, influencers in this in the vocal cast that they have in it. I just heard Jacksepticeye as one of the characters just recently, and he has like a big bit in it.
Of course, they do have a returning character that was it LMC's head honcho is very familiar with.
I do often wonder about those games when they have those voices. Do you want? It's like, are they the voice anymore, or are you unable to like remove the voice actor from it? Certainly when it comes to YouTubers.
I don't. We're not gonna have another ukulele problem again. Hopefully not. And last but not least, it again another game that just shied off of things. I think it was like number 6 or 7. It's like back and forth with those with that, but it was Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening for the Switch. It is again another charming game. Really loved the art style. I Link's Awakening, the original Link's Awakening was my first Zelda title that I ever played, so this was a great going back and reliving that kind of like those memories again. But sadly, everything else, did it bear.
Link's
for me
Awakening
this year.
for me was a case of I've only played the original, or I played the Game Boy Advance remake of it or upscale of it within the last year. So I was kind of like, do I really want to play the same game again? So I'm leaving it for a little bit. Whether I'll go back to it, I don't know.
Fair enough.
My honourable mentions are a bit scarce, to be honest. I've not actually played that many games this year. My 4, 5, 6, and 7, so 6 and 7 being Team Sonic Racing and Indivisible, were actually fairly fluid. They changed quite a bit. But also number 8, Medieval, that remake. It's not great. It's got a lot of problems, but it's also only 20 quid.
Yeah.
So, but there's that eventually floated to dropped to the bottom of the pile just because there's a lot of stuff wrong with it that really shouldn't be wrong. If you're testing your game and the PS4 can't handle the title screen and run it at 30 frames a second, something's gone very wrong. But that really is about it for me for honourable mentions. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's also the problem. Nothing stuck out in my mind this year.
No, it's I always go through a big old list of every game that's released this year and just go, oh yeah, that one there. I forgot about that one.
The thing is, I did do that, and I couldn't remember on some games. Have I played this and just gotten rid of it? I can't remember. Indivisible was a very weird one for me. I did finish it, and I think I've actually got all the achievements in it.
Oh, wow.
But I don't feel that the platforming and the combat meshed well together, and I really didn't like the main character. Didn't like her. I actually thought the supporting cast had better story arcs than the main character.
Oh, well.
But yes, let's get on to what we think were the best of the best this year. I think I know what yours is, ShadowFox. I'm not actually sure. I think I might know what yours is, Turbo, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 95% sure on ShadowFox's.
You're gonna, yeah. I mean, I haven't mentioned it yet, but that's just the sign that
Exactly.
it's more likely to be there. And there's not really too much I want to say about the game. As I was saying, we mentioned it's like YouTubers making an appearance. This game has the opposite of famous actors making an appearance who actually look like they're actors. So even harder to take away face characters to person, but they do a fantastic job. And the only way to describe the game is a Hideo Kojima game. There is no other description for it. It's, as far as games go, the main plotline and story actually really followable. There's devil in the detail, but the base story is a very simple game. The mechanics of walking everywhere work well. It's Postman Pat Simulator. It's Death Stranding. I
was wondering when you were going to mention the title.
Yeah, I
was going to say, you were just explaining everything and you didn't even say what it was yet. You were talking like a Kojima game.
Was, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you mentioned Kojima game, you know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, how many games did he release this year? But no, it's a game that the more you say, the more you confuse people. But the intrigue is just like half the point. You're going to get halfway through and be like, what the hell's going on? Then it's going to get to the end. You're going to be like, oh, I get it. You might figure it out. The acting from the actors is top notch. Like Troy Baker, Tommy Lee Jenks, all of them A+ performances. And of course, you got Guillermo del Toro face, you got your Stephen Colbert face, Conan O'Brien. Loads of cameos from everyone and anyone who he likes. Norman Reedus and his funky fetus. It's
Jeff Keighley's
in there, yeah. It's like I said, I don't want to say too much because the best part about Kojima games are always the learning as you're going. And the
weird and wacky stories.
Yeah, if you're committed to playing it through, if you like Kojima games, you'll like it. If you don't like Kojima games, it's a tough one to get to. But yeah, it's a hiking simulator. So if you like your armors or anything like that.
I love how many theories there are about trying to connect this to the Metal Gear universe.
Yeah, I don't think that's
No, I don't.
That's very stupid of people.
Yeah, I mean, because all of his other games, Police Noughts, Metal Gear, and all that. What was the other one? It was Only the Enders. They're all connected, they're all connected under the Konami Kojima kind of thing. I think this is fresh, brand new. Maybe his next game will link to Death Stranding somehow, but until then, we won't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, that is obviously a contender at the Video Game Awards that is going to be happening,
Isn't it like in every category?
After we record this and probably when we're all asleep because we're UK-based.
Oh, I won't.
Yeah, aye. But there is another that is in contention for Game of the Year this year in that same competition, and I've got it as my Game of the Year for this year. It is possibly one of the best remakes I've played in the longest time, and I loved going through it multiple times.
Did you play the
getting all the
original?
trophies. Yes, I did play the original.
Cool. I just wanted to know, just because there's a lot of people that I know have played this who never played the original.
You see, I've played the original, and it was the same with. Well, granted, I played many entries before the original, before playing the remake of the original, for the first game, and I loved the first game. So, and then when I went back and played the second, third, and whatnot, it's like, ooh, I love this series. But then when I played this remake of the second game, I really liked how they handled it. I really liked how they made a old game updated with modern day mechanics, and it works. And that game is of course Resident Evil 2 remake on PS4 and Xbox One and PC. And wouldn't you know it, I called it I called this months in advance. We're basically saying they would have Resident Evil 2 being developed. They were working on this game for, years and years. I know for a fact that they were probably working on getting Resident Evil 3 done for either alongside with it and try to do it, because it essentially uses the same assets and whatnot. And wouldn't you know it, before we
Earlier
after
this week.
Earlier this week, yeah. After this recording, they announced Resident Evil 3 remake with using the same assets, using the same engine, using things and just having the Jill campaign that is part of that was Resident Evil 3. And damn it, I love being right, and possibly that might be next year's number one as well. Possibly, who knows?
It'd be interesting to see what the 1v4 mode is as well with that.
Yeah, Resistance.
Ah.
Yeah,
It's an interesting thing to bundle with it.
because that project there wasn't getting a lot of good press. Not many people were hyped for it. But now that they've tied it with Resident Evil 3, now they're making it a little bit more palatable, shall we say?
Wasn't there that other Resident Evil, like 0 or something, where it was like a 6-player survival co-op kind of thing where you had to get through a bunch of missions or something?
You are thinking of the Outbreak games.
Yes.
Outbreak and Outbreak File 2. Now, that has its fans. I'm not a fan of that series, though. I wasn't a fan of the Outbreak games, and I never played any of the Outbreak games because I felt as though that was very convoluted. This, however, the Resistance and whatnot, is very Dead by Daylight.
Yes, I would very much agree on that one.
Yeah, it's very Dead by Daylight / Left 4 Dead.
If you want to get into the asymmetrical, like 1v4 or 1v whatever, unless you're already an established name, having a brand name is the way to break into it.
Oh, and it fits Resident Evil, to be fair.
Oh, it does.
Well, I was gonna say you can't say that with Umbrella Corps, because that tried to be a competitive first-person shooter with Resident Evil. Didn't work.
See, ironically, my favourite of the Resident Evil games, although I haven't played that many, is a Wii title called Umbrella Chronicles.
You see, that's fine, because that was a first-person arcade game.
Yeah, it was a light
game.
But
Anyway,
but yes.
yeah, like a game.
Yeah,
But yeah. But anyway, regardless, Resident Evil 2, I felt as though it did its job well, very well, in fact. It engaged me. I was engaged with how the story was, how it was presented, how they changed a couple of things from the original game. How they've now, granted, they had to remove certain things, like for example, there's not a timeline A and timeline B kind of like thing, like how the original was. But obviously they had to cut it for time. That's fine, And I feel as though that might be the same case with Resident Evil 3 when that comes around, where they'll just have one set timeline on that. And that makes sense because obviously back in the day we were obviously it was only the second game in the series, so they had those two kind of like timeline endings, and eventually one of them would be considered canon going forward and whatnot. So with this remake, that's solid. That cements the timeline. That cements the story of what we've known leading up to this remake and whatnot, which is great. And the gameplay, really good. They expanded on the game's original content, where Tofu Survivor used to be, you had to play the game multiple times to unlock it and whatnot. But when you unlock Tofu after beating the fourth survivor, and you beat Tofu, you get another tofu. Then you get 2 more tofus. And then you get 5 tofus. It's like you get to have 5 playable tofus in this game. It's crazy. And then you got free extra content. And wouldn't you know it, there's gonna be even more free. There's gonna be more content for the game. I don't know if it's free, but it's got to lead up to Resident Evil 3.
They're definitely adding a secret thing. I know that.
Yeah, it's called. They've called it Another Survivor. The trophy just updated on the trophies list, and it's also the Steam is the achievements on Steam achievements as well. But in the trophies list, it's part of a subsection called Another Survivor. So obviously that's gonna be more content for Resident Evil 2, which is great because it's making me bust out my copy of Resident Evil 2 again. So perfect. And if it's free, even better. It's awesome. Yeah.
I will say the Nemesis is looking quite handsome in the next one though.
He's definitely been given a nice little makeover. I'll tell you that much. But I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that. But no, Resident Evil for here and now, 2019, Resident Evil 2 remake. It is my game of the year, hands down, without a shadow of doubt. It would have been, like I said, it would have been Ring Fit Adventure had it not been the case that Resident Evil 2 came out this year.
It's the perfect time for it. It's been long enough, but like you can pretty much just take everything that everyone loved, change it up, and it's just perfect.
And I think I agree with you when you say that if you're gonna do RE2, you have to do RE3 because the two are connected too tightly. Yeah. Or Biohazard 2-3 if you guys are listening for Japan for some reason.
Well, actually, I think it's called. I think in Japan it's called Biohazard 2 Resident Evil.
Yes, it is.
Because for some reason we couldn't have it called Biohazard.
We couldn't call it Resident Evil 2 Biohazard apparently for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I know there is a reason why. I just can't remember what it is.
I'm sure it's stupid.
It's a legal thing.
It'll be copyright or something.
Copyright, yeah. I think it's like a music band.
One game left.
Yes,
Make it a good one.
Now, I have purposely chosen this game because I did actually check back on our recordings, and I did check you did include Destiny, or one of the Destiny expansions for completely reinventing the game 1 year.
Maybe. Well, it's only been out for 3 years, so it must have been last year then, but I don't remember that.
So my game is not technically a new game, but it is a major expansion for an existing game.
Oh, is it Destiny?
It is not Destiny. No, it's not Destiny. But I did only start playing this game this year anyway. But it is also, and I think we double checked, we think it's the highest Metacritic game of the year as well. It is an MMO, and it is my first MMO as well. I'm guessing you guys have already guessed what it is now.
I'm trying to think. I'm not...
Fair enough. It is Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers.
Oh, right.
Of course.
Yeah. So, Final Fantasy XIV was brand new to me, and I started about 4 or 5 months before the new expansion came out. And I've been thoroughly enjoying it up until that point. But Shadowbringers did a lot of stuff to just kind of bring it all together and add some of the best content the game has had to offer. The bosses are really well designed. They start off on a decent kind of difficulty level because you're expected to already have your training wheels off by this point. You've gone through 70 other levels worth of content. So, but the boss design is really good. The story is really well written. There's a lot of very tense moments between you and the other characters. And your character feels a lot... Whereas in previous kind of installments, you're this wondrous hero that can do no wrong and is almighty and powerful. This one, you start feeling very vulnerable. And they play it very well to make you feel like you're no longer this overpowered. You're still seen as this massive hero, but you're struggling immensely. And the post-game content that's come out since, there's some really nice referential bosses. The Nier Automata raid is very well designed, has some very good tie-ins, but it's very different as well, which has helped it. The 2 new classes they've added are both really enjoyable. The new races, probably the weakest part. Hofgar are certainly entertaining, because they have such big faces. They're really expressive. I did change to a Viera for a little bit, but their expressions are so stoic that I changed back to a human. That's genuinely true. But yeah, I've played this game more than anything else this year. I've clocked over 150 hours into it this year.
Nice.
Part of that is because I've enjoyed it with both. I've enjoyed it with a fair few friends, some of whom you guys will know from our community. I've enjoyed it with work colleagues who, I mean, they are friends as well, but we still continue to play on the odd lunchtime to get through some of the new content and chat about it. And there's usually something every month to new that comes in that, even if we're just spending a few hours on it, is kind of just an enjoyable little thing to do. There's always more challenges, there's always new stuff to do. This by far has been my game of the year, and to be honest, I will be continuing to play it for a while to come. But I certainly won't be adding it onto any more Game of the Year lists, because I feel it's had its limelight, and it's very well deserved. So yeah, Shadowbringers is my number 1 game of the year, and I think it's well deserved. It's my first MMO. It treated me very kindly. I'm surprised at how kind the community was for an MMO. That might just be because, hey, I've heard all these horror stories. There are some idiots in it, but
there's always.
For the most part, everyone has been quite happy to just fool about, and just, if you say, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing because I'm brand new, a lot of the time they'll just go, that's cool, let me show you how to do it. And that's all you need. So, that is our Games of the Year. I definitely think we've had a very good mixture of games, actually, between us.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, granted, there's been some repeats with some of us, but
both of them coming from me, actually.
yeah, but basically, what was it? You had
Luigi's
one
Mansion
of
with
each.
you, and
Yeah,
Bloodstained with ShadowFox.
yeah. So you had one of each from ourselves,
It's
so that's only fair. Yeah.
I will say there is one game that probably would have made my top 5 list, and quite frankly, probably might have edged out Shadowbringers as my number 1 if it had come out this year.
And that would have been
Doom.
Oh yes, of course, yes. But hey, we got next year.
Game of the Year next year. I'm gonna call it now.
Yeah. Yep. Call it.
But we do actually have something else big coming next year.
Do we?
Oh yes.
2 new consoles.
Oh yeah.
The next console generation. PlayStation 5 and whatever Xbox are going to call Project Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
Captain Scarlet.
I almost want to say, and I genuinely don't know anything more than you guys will know. I half want to say.
So call it.
Go on.
I'm guessing. I'm just gonna go on a limb here. I'm going to guess they're gonna call it the Xbox Rouge.
Oh god damn it! I was gonna say Xbox Red.
Oh, I like Rouge though.
Yeah, so you see, it makes it more fancier.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll do that or whether they'll go the simplistic route.
We'll find out
Next year.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so Turbo's definitely got Resi Evil 3. You're looking forward to.
Well, it's gotta be a toss-up between that and Doom. So
Yeah, no, that's
really,
fair.
it's that again. That's gotta be a very close call to with those 2 games. So can't make any promises.
Hopefully they'll both be in the top 5, maybe.
And also, that's just the start of the year. Who knows?
Oh,
There might
yeah.
be something in the second half that could topple both of them. Who
That is
knows?
true.
So, well, you say first half of the year. It's actually that's April and May, I think. Resi Freeze
Well,
April.
March and April. So that's like the
March?
first quarter. Yeah, Doom's March and Resi's
I
April.
thought Doom was May for some reason.
No, March.
Yeah,
It's the same day as that. It's the same day as Animal Crossing.
Oh yes, it is. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that and just going like, "Ooh, okay, that's probably a smart idea because your Doom fans and your Animal Crossing fans are probably actually going to cross over more than you think." But Doom's not coming out on Switch that day, so.
Well, that's how the fan art is perceived.
How about you, ShadowFox? Anything big on the horizon for you?
I honestly have no idea. I don't think too much to the future in terms of games. I'm sure I will be surprised by many things. I'm trying to think what's coming. Is Halo Infinite this year, or is that still an unknown?
That's this year. That'll be next year. That'll be for 2020 because that is a launch title for the
Oh, it
Scarlet.
is?
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be, wouldn't it?
Okay, that then. That's my.
You're gonna have to buy a new console for it.
If I'm lucky, it might come out.
Oh, maybe it'll come to PC as well.
Yeah.
Well, it might come for Xbox One and Scarlet.
That's
as
true.
well.
We might start getting a few cross-gen titles. Sorry, yeah, cross-generation titles.
Or maybe, I mean, Microsoft are getting pretty big on the PC, so.
This is true. I think one other game that technically has seen half a release this year, but only exclusive to one platform.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
Which one do you think?
Shantae.
Yeah. Exclusively on Apple Arcade at the moment, and it's only half the
Yeah.
game. I'm hoping they do
I don't-
bring that to the other consoles. They have said they will,
Well,
but there's...
It will. Trust me, it is. They've announced. They've been talking about it on Twitter, basically just saying, look. This, in fact, actually, they actually said that the second half of the game for Apple Arcade has been finished up, whatnot. It's going through the final bits and whatnot, and they're expecting it to be spring 2020.
I thought they delayed it to summer.
No, they apparently brought it forward.
I'll double check because I thought they posted today saying they delayed it to summer.
That's not. Well, that was the tweet I saw today, apparently. So.
I'll have to have a look at that later. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to that one or not. I'm in two minds about it at the moment.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out next year.
This is true. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of games I'm working on that are coming out next year, but they definitely won't be in my top list because they're not allowed to be. So maybe they'll be. In
No, they're
yours.
not. Who knows?
Who knows?
You'll have to find out.
You have to find out next year when we do this again, because I think this has become a bit of a tradition for us now.
It will be, yeah.
Indeed.
That's an enjoyable one. I mean, we did have the opportunity, although probably wouldn't have been wise, to record this live very recently.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't think it would have been a wise idea still.
Nah. It's trying to have three men in the same room together and whatnot.
In the middle of a concert.
Or even in a pub, in a bar
True.
somewhere. You know, that wouldn't have helped. So. But anyway.
But yes, thank you all for listening to us. Also, yes, definitely catch up with LMC Cast with Turbo. That's a monthly show, I believe.
Yeah, it's a monthly show. Every end of the month, there's always a monthly cast. So do, subscribe for every new episode that gets uploaded onto the podcast feeds on whatever podcast media you listen to these podcasts. So yeah,
I'm aiming to do a few more top lists next year if I can make it. There is one I've been meaning to do with Kevin Vija for about 2 years now, and we've all agreed we're going to do it, and it's just like, when?
Tomorrow.
So that'll be... No, it's not going to be tomorrow.
Damn.
Thank you all for listening, and hope you have a very good holiday season and a good start to the new year.
Yes.
We'll see you in 2020.
May it be merry.
Any final words from you guys?
Bye.
See See you in 2020, boys.
Take care, all.